In the previous lesson I introduced you to placing some stones and I also showed you most of our shape commands. Now we covered a lot very quickly there, but as we begin to use these tools in our designing, the function should make a bit more sense to you. So before moving on, we're going to create another quick ring to try to help our understanding of how we can apply some of these shape commands that we learned in the previous lesson. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to use the basic closed solitaire template and I'll name my part. And we're going to create a men's ring in this video. So here we are at the part level, and this is our template, and our history for the template is located within these folders in the history manager. Okay, so I'm going to start off by changing my ring size to a more common size for a men's ring. So we come into the Design, Sketches and Ring tab, navigate to Ring Size, left click, and we're going to be using the American system, and we'll pick a more appropriate ring size for a man. Let's say a size 10.5, that's about 20mm in diameter of the ring finger. Left click Apply, and we see our template updated. I'm now going to insert a ring shank, so in the same ribbon tab, navigate to Ring Shanks, left click, and we can pick a ring shank. I'm going to pick a basic square shank. Let's place our shank on the top datum here. Okay, this is called our 12 o'clock datum. Confirm the operation. We can see the names of our template datums within here. Okay, and I'm going to change the dimensions of my ring shank sketch. So right click on our dimension, modify value, let's increase it slightly to a 5, and I'm going to bring my height down to about 2.5mm. Okay, so now we want to create our ring shank. We want to sweep this ring shank sketch around the ring finger, around this template. So we've learned we have various options available for doing this. We can use our revolve tool, we could use our sweep to sweep our sketch along this path, and we could also use a drive curve loft to loft this sketch around this path, and we could have multiple ring shank sketches. But since we do not, I'm going to use a simple revolve. Pick the profile as our sketch, the axis is the y-axis, let's just do a one-sided 0 to 360, no end caps, confirm the operation. So here's our ring shank. Save our work, Control S. Okay, now I want to divide my ring shank down the middle. Okay, so we learned how to do this using our divide command. So left click, we pick our shape as our base, and our cutting, we want to cut it straight down at the middle, which means we can use our front datum, okay, the XZ datum. We confirm this operation, our shape is going to be divided in half. Okay, so we have two halves now. Now I'm going to erase one of these halves. Right click, erase, and I'm going to use a face offset to take this face back a bit. So I'm going to have an offset of 0.75. Confirm. Okay, now I'm going to mirror this shape across my front plane as a base to bring back my other half, but with the face offset. Okay, so now I want to add a new shape between these two. I'm going to use an extrude. My profile is going to be the edge. I'm going to do a one-sided extrude, and I want it to come over to here. I want it to match up perfectly. So remember, we offset our face by 0.75, so that means there will be a distance of 0.75 here. So we'll have a total width of 1.5 millimeters. So we'll set our endpoint to be negative 1.5. We're going to create this as a base, and we're going to thicken it only on one side, doesn't matter which one we pick, negative 2.25. Okay, and we want end caps to make this a closed shape. Confirm the operation. We can see our shape here. Let's change the color so it's a bit more clear. Save our work. Okay, so there are different ways that we can achieve this same result, and CAD is all about finding the most effective method. We essentially are doing problem solving when we are designing pieces. So let me show you a different way of achieving the same result. If we take our model stop back to before the divide, we're going to delete the rest of history, and this time, instead of dividing down the center, we're going to insert a datum and divide our ring at the points that we offset the faces to. Okay, so let's insert datum. I can use my intelligent datum tool to left click on the datum geometry that I would like. I can then offset this geometry a distance. Alternatively, I could use my XZ datum here to get the same result. I'm going to offset it a distance of negative 0.75. Okay, the same offset that I had for my face offset. I'm going to mirror this datum across the front plane, and now I'm going to divide this shape with these two datums. Okay, I picked the wrong one, right click, unpick last. Confirm. Okay, and now we have split our shape into three parts using these two datums. I'm now going to use a face offset this face by a value of negative 0.25. I'll then change the color of this shape. Okay, you see here that we have the same result as we got previously, but via a different method. Moving on, let's blank out our middle shape. I want to add a chamfer to my inside edges. Okay, 5 is going to be a large setback, it's going to be too big. I know that we can't have a chamfer that large, so let's take it down to a feasible number. Pick our edges. Okay, that chamfer is still too much for me. 0.5 seems fine. Confirm the operation. Okay, now let's place a stone. We come into the Gems Setting tab, place stones. I'm going to place a Princess Cut stone. Let's have a blue diamond. We'll dimension it. We're going to give it dimensions of 2.5 millimeters. Enter. And we're going to place it on this datum here. This is not our center gem datum, which is here. We're going to place it on this datum just below it. Left click, confirm the operation. I'm now going to create a bezel straight on top of this. Bezel. Navigate to the princess cut bezel. We know our gem length is 2.5 millimeters. Therefore our gem width is also 2.5 millimeters. We can then bring in our bezel. Okay, I want to place it on the same datum as I did the stone. So left click, we're in wireframe mode. Left click on that datum. We can change back to our shaded mode. Remember, this is a toggle, so if we simply left click on this icon, it's going to switch to our last used display mode. Okay. It remembers our last used display mode. Okay, so I think these sides are coming up a little bit high. I'm going to bring them down a bit. So this is the height above the girdle. Let's drop it to a 0.5. Enter, press preview to update our bezel. Okay, that might have brought it down too much. 0.75 should be fine. I also want to reduce my bezel angle. Let's give it an angle of 5 degrees. Okay, and this seems fine to me. Confirm the operation. There is our bezel on our stone. Okay, so I'm going to unblank my middle shape, and I'm going to blank my 2 outside shapes. So I'm going to pick my first one, then holding down the control button on the keyboard, I'll left click on my second shape. Okay, and this should pick them both. I'll then right click, blank, and 2 shapes are blanked out. I'm now going to pattern my stone around this shank. So we come into the shape ribbon tab, navigate to pattern, change our entity filter onto component because our gemstone is a component. My pattern method will be circular. Our base, if we come in and select our gemstone, our direction is going to be around the y-axis. I'd like to have 8 stones in total, so we'll crank up our number to 8. Okay, and you can see that they're already being spaced equally around our ring shank. To ensure this is happening, we can change our derive to derive the spacing so that our patterned gemstones will be equally spaced. Let's confirm the operation. Okay, now we will also need to pattern our bezel. But before we do that, I'm going to merge it. I'm going to merge it so it becomes a shape. So we have access to our merge command within the shape ribbon tab, also in our assembly ribbon tab. Merge, select our bezel, merge it as a base, confirm, and this bezel is now a shape. Okay, I can now pattern this shape in the same way that I pattern my stones around the y-axis. Okay, this is the same as patterning around the negative y-axis. Okay, I'm having the same number, derived spacing. All of these fields are remembered by the command. So let's confirm the operation. And there we have our patterned bezels. Okay, now we want to remove this material from within our bezels. And we can do this by performing a combine remove command. Okay, on a side note, if you choose to keep your history manager hidden, we can toggle it on and off with this icon here, which is also available in the right click menu, ZW3D Manager. So if we decide to keep it hidden and we come to use a command, instead of bringing up our input manager, since we have hidden our manager, it will bring up our options panel in a pop-out box. Okay. So back to the ring, we're going to be doing a combine remove. Our base is going to be this middle shank. Okay, this is what we want to do our remove on. Our operators are going to be all of these shapes. Okay, so we can pick them. Okay, so it's not too bad picking 8 shapes, but maybe we have more. I'll show you a different way that we can pick our shapes. We could simply do a window pick, because we know that these are our only shapes in the window. Okay, and since our middle shank is already picked to the base, it's not going to repick it as an operator. Okay, and we want to keep our remove shapes. Confirm the operation. So it doesn't look like much happened, but if we blank out this center bezel, we can see that our ring shank trimmed to that bezel. Okay, so now we need to erase all of these center bits. Okay, so we can select them all by holding the control button as we're moving around the shank. So we're holding the control button down, left clicking, and we're able to pick them all. Then we can right click and erase them all at once. So let's unblank that top bezel. And now we will do an extrude cut to cut away the excess material that is infringing upon the ring finger. Extrude, cut, our profile. Let's set it to be the template curve list. Let's do a symmetrical cut. Drag it out anywhere. Doesn't matter, we're doing a remove. So the dimensions of this shape do not matter too much. There we have our extrude cut. Now let's combine all of these parts together. Okay, they're all separate entities at the moment, separate shapes. So let's combine, add them all. Combine, add. Our base can be any one of them. Our operator will be all the others. Now we do not want to keep add shapes. Okay, if we keep add shapes, it's going to create duplicates of our pieces. Okay, so there's 2 of them there. Undo that. So we're going to redefine last, uncheck the keep add shapes, confirm, and now we have one shape alone. Okay, let's unblank our other parts. And now we need to do a combine remove again of this outer part to the inner part, because you can see we have this material infringing upon our bezel and stone. So again, combine. Our base is the outside shanks. Our operator is the middle. We want to keep the remove shapes. Confirm the operation. Okay. And this has been trimmed to our shapes in here. But you can see again that we have some leftover material which we're going to need to erase. So let's blank out the shapes that we wish to keep. I'm using the control key to pick them all, right click, blank. Now we're left with only the shapes that we want to get rid of. With our entity filter set to shape, perform a window pick, right click, erase, right click, unblank all. Okay, so our design is just about there now. We could choose to combine our 3 separate shapes here to create one complete band, or we may decide to keep them separate and manufacture these parts out of different metals, and then we can have a 2 or even 3 tone ring. If this is the case, then we would need to export each of these parts separately as separate STL files. Okay, so looking at this ring, I think that our stones are a bit too low and I would like to raise them up a bit. Also, I think I want to take out this face offset here in this middle ring shank. I think I would like to have it flush with the ring finger like the other shanks. Okay, so we can go about doing this by coming into the history and making modifications. Okay, and then we can replay the rest of history without having to redo those operations. Okay, so this is using our history manager to make modifications to our design, and this really is the beauty of our history. So we can drag our model stop up to prior to our offset. Okay, I think I just want to delete this offset completely. So I can use this delete next operation button, or right click delete. Okay, and now I can continue playing the rest of history. I can play the chamfer. Okay, and you can see that our chamfer has not picked up one of these edges. So we can redefine the last operation. Okay, and repick the edge, this edge. Okay, confirm the operation. And there we go. So sometimes when we make a change within the history, our subsequent operations may be thrown off a little bit. Okay, but they can be salvaged. If they do not play, we can edit them, redefine them, and correct the issues. So let's play our stone. Yeah, it's coming in fine. Our bezel, that's fine. Okay, and now this is the point. Before I pattern the stone, I would like to raise it up a little bit. So I'll come into my move command, set my entity filter onto component, pick the gemstone, and we're going to bring it up. Okay, let's say 0.5, we'll bring it up 0.5 millimeter. Confirm, play the pattern, and then all of our stones will be raised up by that distance. Let's continue playing. Okay, it seems to be going fine. Okay, that looks fine to me. The rest of history seems to have played correctly. Okay, so now I'm happy with this ring. Maybe we might want to add a fillet here to give a more comfortable fit on the ring finger, but I'm going to leave it for now. And I would like to add some textures to the ring. Okay, so we have seen how we can add different colors to our different shapes, like this. Okay, but perhaps we'd like to add a more realistic texture. Okay, if this is the case, we come into our Visualize tab, Visualize Ribbon tab, and you'll see we have here some textures. Okay, we can add a metal texture to our shapes. Okay, so let's pick a texture. Say bronze. We then pick the shapes that we want to add this texture to. Confirm. And do the same for our other shapes. Okay, and these textures will help give a slightly more realistic render when we come to use our live render. Okay, now we can add a live rendering studio to improve our live render, and we'll be looking at this more closely in a future lesson, but I'm going to place it here for now. Okay, this is our live rendering studio. Okay, and these panels will throw on some nicer colors to our render. Okay, so our render has improved somewhat.